please lend your attention, for what I am about to convey is not just simple information. It is essential for survival. There exist individuals in this world who go beyond just disliking you. They actively wish for your failure. They don't even want you to be here. If you are not alert, if you fail to notice the warnings, you will walk right into their carefully set traps with an easy smile on your face while they prepare to strike from behind. This is not about being overly suspicious. This is fundamental psychology. Narcissists, the ones with deep-seated issues, operate with a hostility and planning that most genuinely good people can't even imagine. The terrible thing is, your very own goodness is what makes you an easy target. So today we will examine 6 hidden signals, 6 markers that show, sometimes in the tiniest actions, when a narcissist doesn't just feel bitterness toward you, but truly desires your destruction. Learning to see these signs can help you guard yourself, perhaps even save your well-being psychologically, socially, and sometimes even physically, because the danger is absolutely real. They turn your good qualities into weapons against you. This is one of the most unsettling parts of how narcissists try to control others. It's so subtle that most people don't see it happening until it's far too late. Consider this idea for a moment. The traits that make you admirable, the very things that are the basis of your strength, your kindness, your loyalty, your empathy, your ability to forgive, your drive to see the best in everyone. These are the exact qualities that a narcissist will pinpoint, target, and then use for their advantage. And they don't use them by accident as if they simply stumbled upon an easy chance. No, they do it purposefully, strategically, almost with a strong instinct that feels like a predator hunting. They can sense your good nature like a shark smells blood in the water. When you are kind, they will lean on that kindness, not with thanks, but with a feeling of entitlement. You will find yourself agreeing to things you want to refuse because your kindness has been turned into a restriction around your own neck. When you are loyal, they will constantly test the limits of that loyalty, breaking your trust again and again just to see how far they can push you before you finally give up. Because you value loyalty, you will hesitate to leave. You will make up excuses for them. Maybe they will change. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe it is my fault. They are aware of this and they depend on it. If you are a forgiving person, the narcissist sees your forgiveness not as a grace, but as a tool. They will do something wrong to you, then act sorry, then do something wrong again, using your capacity to forgive as a constantly turning door through which their abuse can flow endlessly. They will even present it as your duty. If you were truly forgiving, you would let this go. And you will struggle with yourself because deep down you believe in second chances, sometimes even third and fourth. What you don't realize until much later is that your forgiveness is no longer a gift. It has been twisted into a form of permission. Your empathy, the thing that allows you to connect with people, to feel their pain and see the world through their eyes, becomes the narcissist's playground. They will misuse that empathy by acting as the victim, drawing out your compassion, manipulating your natural desire to care. They will cry when it suits their purpose, fly into rages when it suits them, break down when it suits them, and each time you will feel pressure to save them, to support them, to protect them. Yet when the roles are switched, when you are the one in need, they will vanish. They will refuse you the very empathy they demanded from you. This imbalance is not a mistake. It is the core design. Even your determination to see the best in people becomes a weakness. You will excuse clear warning signs because you believe in the possibility of their goodness. You will explain away cruelty as stress. deception as a misunderstanding, and attempts to control you as care. This is where the narcissist thrives because they know you will change your reality to keep your ideals intact. They know you will sacrifice your own sanity to maintain the image of them you once believed in. They know you will rewrite the story to keep your hope alive. And every time you do that, they increase their hold on you. This is the central psychological trick. They reverse your strengths into weaknesses. They don't attack you where you're already weak because that would be too easy to spot. Instead, they wear down the very foundations of who you are. They make you question if kindness is naivete, if loyalty is just foolishness, if forgiveness is a flaw, if empathy is self-betrayal. Over time, you stop trusting your own good qualities. You start to doubt yourself, seeing your best traits as problems. When you lose faith in your own goodness, you lose the core of your identity. That's how they drain your strength, not by overpowering you, but by causing you to disarm yourself. The sad truth is that most victims don't see it happening until years have gone by. They look back and ask, how did I allow this to continue for so long? The answer is brutally clear. You allowed it because you were a good person, and that very goodness was used against you, not by accident, but by someone who understood, perhaps better than you did, just how powerful it was. They take greater pleasure in your failures than in their own successes. This is one of the clearest views into the mind of a narcissist because it shows not just their insecurity, but their deep-seated hostility toward your very existence. Most people feel envy occasionally, but healthy envy usually comes with a bit of shame. If a person you know buys a new car, you might feel a sudden spike of jealousy, but you don't actually hate them for it. You recognize that the feeling comes from your own lack, and you move on. A narcissist is different. For them, your success is a fundamental threat. It completely ruins the shaky story they've created about themselves as being superior, flawless, and always on top. Every time you achieve something, it doesn't just bother them, it wounds them. It tears at the thin illusion of their self-belief. So what happens? Instead of celebrating their own wins, they pour their emotional energy into celebrating your losses. Pay close attention. When you mess up, their face lights up. Their eyes become sharp. Their tone of voice shifts. If you fail at something important, they don't offer real support. They barely hide their intense joy, sometimes even pretending to comfort you while silently relishing your collapse. This is why their praise feels empty and their sympathy seems out of place. Deep down, they are waiting, always waiting for the moment your life turns bad because that downturn comforts them. It brings back their feeling of being superior. This is why narcissists are often subtle saboteurs. They don't just passively wait for your failures. They actively create situations where failure is more likely. They'll plant seeds of doubt just before a big decision. They'll chip away at your confidence right before a crucial meeting. They'll confuse you, distract you, or inject instability into your plans. Then, when you stumble, they get the double satisfaction of both watching you fall and knowing they had a part in it. Belief that they don't need to win honestly when they can stack the deck. The victory feels much better to them when it comes at your personal expense. Even in small moments, you will see this pattern share good news, and they will minimize it or quickly change the focus back to themselves. Share bad news, and suddenly they are focused, energized, almost glowing with interest. It is as if your pain sustains them. They will ask for details, keep the conversation going, and describe the event in ways that make your suffering more real. But when you succeed, they will quickly move past it, change the topic, or offer faint compliments mixed with doubt. You will walk away feeling puzzled why your accomplishments feel smaller every time you mention them. That's the psychological wearing down at work. The most telling sign is comparison. Narcissists are always keeping a silent score, judging themselves against everyone nearby. They must be ahead, but not through self-improvement or genuine achievement, only through the lessening of others. If they can't rise, they will try to pull you down. If they can't outshine you directly, they will celebrate when your light fades. This is why they spread gossip, why they start rumors, why they enjoy the bad fortune of people they claim to care about. It is not just random bad behavior. It is their core strategy for survival in a world where every success they witness feels like an attack on them. And here is the harmful part. Because they can't openly show this joy without exposing their true selves, they create hidden ways of expressing it. A smirk they try to conceal, a casual comment that hits like a dagger, a strange silence at a moment when any normal person would offer encouragement. Over time, you learn to notice these tiny reactions and they start to bother you. You begin to question whether the person next to you is secretly hoping you fail. That doubt slowly ruins relationships from the inside, creating a feeling of isolation and suspicion, which is exactly the state the narcissist wants you in, unsure, self-doubting, and cut off from real support. The celebration of your failures is not just cruel and pointless, it is their life source. It confirms their superiority, reestablishes their shaky control, and fuels their contempt for you. It also clearly shows their inner emptiness. A person who is secure in real strength, real capability, and real self-respect does not need others to fail in order to feel alive. The narcissist does. And that craving is unending. They will never be satisfied with your setbacks. They will always desire the next collapse, the next blunder, the next proof that you are not better than they are. They transform silence into psychological warfare. Most people think of communication as spoken words, arguments made, or discussions held. But with a narcissist, silence is as much a weapon as speaking. They use it to upset you, to gain control, and to shift the power balance in the relationship without saying one single word. It is not the silence of peace, nor the silence of thinking. It is the silence of strategy. They use it like a sharpshooter uses a rifle, carefully, deliberately, with the full intent of causing you the most suffering. When a narcissist becomes silent, it's rarely accidental. They stop communicating, not because they have nothing to say, but because they know what you will do. They know that your mind will race, that your anxiety will peak, that you will go over every recent interaction to figure out what you did wrong. Their silence forces you into a state of self-doubt, as if you are being judged without knowing the specific accusation. You are left asking yourself, did I say something offensive? Did I do something wrong? Why won't they answer me? The narcissist relies on this downward spiral because every moment you spend doubting yourself is a moment they grow stronger in the relationship. The silent treatment is probably the most common example of this tactic. They disappear emotionally, sometimes physically, leaving you in a blank space of uncertainty. Hours, days, even weeks can pass without any explanation. During that time, they are not wondering how you feel. They know exactly how you feel. That is the entire purpose. The discomfort, the nervousness, the desperate need for a conclusion, all of it feeds their sense of power. By refusing to communicate, they make you chase them. They force you to beg for small crumbs of attention. They make you lessen your own self-worth just to get the connection back. What started as their withdrawal ends with your pursuit. In that reversal lies their victory. But it doesn't end there. Silence can also happen in the middle of talking. You might be speaking honestly, opening up about something personal, and they suddenly shut down. Not with an angry outburst, not with an argument, but with a blank, unmoving wall. They leave your words hanging in the air, belief, without any reply or acknowledgement. This indifference is crushing because people are naturally wired to seek a response, to be recognized. Belief, by denying you even the simple acknowledgement of your voice, they make you feel insignificant. They communicate that your feelings don't matter. Your thoughts don't matter. You don't matter. And they achieve this without saying a single thing. Silence can also be timed precisely to maximize your insecurity. Right after a disagreement, when most people would resolve things or at least talk it through, they go quiet. Not because they need time, but because they know you desperately want closure. Their silence stretches out your discomfort, prolonging it until you can't stand it anymore. Until you apologize just to make the tension stop, they win the conflict without ever having to argue because their silence forces you to surrender. Even in group settings, silence can be used aggressively. A narcissist might ignore you in front of others, refusing to talk to you while being overly friendly to everyone else. That exclusion hurts more deeply than words. It signals to everyone present that you are not worthy of attention, that you are invisible. It isolates you not just emotionally, but socially, damaging your reputation in the eyes of others. They don't need to insult you or shame you directly. The silence does the job with even greater severity. What makes this tactic so harmful is that it takes advantage of a basic human psychology. We are programmed to see silence as a signal. In close relationships, silence often means something is seriously wrong. So our instinct is to fix it. The narcissist hijacks this instinct, turning your empathy and natural desire for connection into tools for your own control. You work harder, you give more, you compromise further, all to end the unbearable silence. And each time you do this, you strengthen their dominance, teaching them that silence will get them exactly what they want. Over time, this weaponized silence conditions you like a form of psychological training. You learn to expect it, to fear it, to avoid actions that might trigger it. You start to censor yourself, minimizing your own needs and changing your behavior, not out of love or respect, but out of fear of being plunged back into the emotional void. This conditioning is invisible to people on the outside, but it completely changes your sense of self from the inside. You become smaller, quieter, more hesitant, while they grow more powerful in their muteness. They isolate you by contaminating your relationships. This strategy is one of the most destructive because it attacks the very foundation of human strength. Our connection to other people. Human beings survive, overcome difficulties, and thrive through community, through family, through friendships. A narcissist knows this without even thinking. And they also know that as long as you have strong ties of support, you are much harder to control, harder to manipulate, and harder to break. So they set out to erode those ties, not always with open attacks, but with subtle damage that leaves you wondering why the people you once trusted now seem distant, suspicious, or unfriendly toward you. The process often starts with quiet hints, carefully planting seeds of doubt. They might make an offhand comment about your friends, how one of them doesn't truly respect you, or how another one seems secretly jealous of you. They might question the motives of your family members, suggesting they don't truly have your best interests in mind. At first, you dismiss these comments, but if they are repeated often enough, they start to take hold. You begin to second guess your relationships, doubting the sincerity of the people who care for you. As your doubt grows, you pull away from those connections, which is exactly the outcome the narcissist desires. Next comes triangulation. This is when they intentionally turn people against each other, creating conflict where none existed before. They will tell you one version of a story and tell someone else a different one, positioning themselves as the necessary middle person. You find yourself trapped in drama you did not cause, unsure of who said what, unsure of who you can trust. This confusion isolates you further because now you feel unsafe confiding in others, afraid of betrayal or misunderstanding. The narcissist becomes the only safe option, even though they are the one orchestrating all the chaos. Smear campaigns are another major weapon in their arsenal. Behind your back, they will gently warp the narrative of who you are. They don't usually start with bold, unbelievable lies right away. Instead, they begin with small distortions, half-truths, carefully worded stories that make you look unreliable, emotionally unstable, or selfish. By the time you realize what is happening, your reputation has already been quietly damaged in the minds of others. People you once relied on start treating you differently, hesitant, suspicious, distant. When you confront the narcissist about it, they pretend to be innocent, claiming they don't know why people are pulling away from you. In reality, they have carefully engineered it step by step. Another layer of this isolation comes from them monopolizing your time and energy. They discourage you from spending time with family or friends, sometimes openly with criticism, sometimes secretly with guilt trips. If you go out, they sulk or punish you later with coldness or accusations. If you invite others over, they create tension, ensuring the experience is unpleasant enough that you avoid repeating it. Slowly, your world shrinks until it revolves almost completely around them. They become the center, not by making your life richer, but by cutting off every other source of connection. Technology has made this even easier for them. They can monitor your communications, question every text message, and comment on every interaction on social media. They plant suspicion. Why did that person like your post? What were you really discussing in that message? At first, it might seem like simple jealousy, but over time, it becomes surveillance. You start editing yourself online, being careful about how your interactions might be seen. Again, you isolate yourself preemptively to avoid conflict, handing them control without even fully realizing it. The cruel brilliance of this tactic is that by the time you understand what is happening, you often find yourself standing alone. The friends you used to depend on feel far away. Family relationships have been strained. Co-workers don't quite trust you anymore. Because isolation breeds shame, you are unwilling to admit the extent of the damage. You may even start to believe the narcissist story that you are difficult, that people don't like you, that you were never truly valued by others in the first place. This belief traps you further because if you think no one else wants you, you cling more desperately to the very person destroying you. Isolation is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, slowly creeping, almost unnoticeable. A comment here, a suggestion there, a subtle change in their voice when you talk about someone else. But over months and years, these small actions build up into a vast gap between you and the people who once provided you with strength. That's how the narcissist ensures that when they strike the hardest, when they exert the most control, there will be no one left for you to turn to, no one to challenge their version of reality, no one to remind you of who you truly are. They disguise cruelty as moral superiority. This is one of the most deceptive tricks because it allows the narcissist to hurt you while convincing both you and others that they are doing something honorable or correct. When cruelty is obvious, you can fight back. If someone insults you directly or lashes out at you in anger, at least the malice is clear. Oh, but when cruelty is hidden by a mask of virtue, when it pretends to be helpful guidance, correction, or justice, it becomes much harder to identify, harder to resist, and far more damaging to your sense of self. The narcissist thrives on this confusion because it allows them to keep the image of being principled while inflicting wounds that break you down. Consider how this appears in daily life. Instead of outright calling you incompetent, they frame their criticism as helpful advice. Leaf, I am only telling you this for your own good. The words might sound caring, but the tone, the timing, the true intention, they are all designed to chip away at your confidence. They don't want you to improve. They want you to doubt yourself while simultaneously thanking them for pointing out your flaws. This twisted exchange creates a cycle where you absorb the harm and respond with gratitude, which conditions you to accept deeper and deeper levels of disguised cruelty. Moral superiority often takes the form of judgments. They hold themselves up as the absolute standard of what is right, ethical, or intelligent. By implication, you are always falling short. If you disagree with them, it is not just a difference of opinion. It is framed as you being immoral, ignorant, or irresponsible. This is not a discussion between equals. It is a verdict handed down from a self-appointed authority because most people want to be seen as good, honest, or fair. You find yourself desperately trying to prove your worth according to their standards, which are deliberately impossible to meet. Religious or philosophical language is another favorite tool. They might quote sacred texts, refer to grand principles, or use high-minded ideals as a way of shaming you. If you challenge their behavior, they'll cloak their revenge as a lesson in humility, patience, or forgiveness. They will hurt you and then demand that you be the bigger person, twisting your own personal values into a leash around your neck. Their cruelty is hidden behind a mask of enlightenment, making you question whether you are the problem for not appreciating their supposed wisdom. In public, this tactic becomes even more destructive. They can present themselves as virtuous crusaders, always highlighting their integrity, fairness, or compassion. Meanwhile, their subtle attacks on you are framed as concern. I just worry that they're not handling things responsibly. To people outside the relationship, it sounds thoughtful. To you, it is another act of degradation because the cruelty is hidden beneath the surface of moral high ground. If you react defensively, you appear unstable or overly sensitive, which strengthens their narrative that they are the reasonable one. This strategy works so well because it targets shame. Shame is one of the most potent forces in human psychology. When you feel ashamed, you withdraw, you become quiet, you try harder to prove your worth. The narcissist exploits this by creating situations where their cruelty causes shame. But it is presented as moral correction. You don't resist because resisting feels like admitting you are wrong. You don't fight back because fighting back feels like confessing guilt. So you accept the cruelty, internalize the shame, and redouble your efforts to meet standards that were never meant to be achievable. Over time, this constant exposure to disguised cruelty reshapes your own self-perception. You start to see yourself through their lens, flawed, inadequate, morally lacking. You might even begin repeating their judgments to yourself, criticizing your every action, holding yourself to impossible standards, punishing yourself for imagined mistakes. In this way, the narcissist doesn't just control you externally, they colonize your inner voice. Even when they are not around, their disguised cruelty echoes in your mind, guiding your behavior as if they were standing right over your shoulder. The most devastating part is that this cruelty often goes completely unnoticed by others. To the outside world, the narcissist looks like a highly principled person, someone who is standing up for what is right. They carefully cultivate that image, ensuring that their disguised cruelty passes as virtue in the eyes of everyone watching. This isolates you further because when you try to explain what is happening, you risk sounding petty or irrational. People may even take the narcissist's side, praising them for their supposed high standards, while you are left carrying the hidden wounds of their continuous attacks. They fantasize about your collapse as if it were justice. This reveals the deepest and darkest part of the narcissistic mind because it exposes not only envy and resentment, but also a kind of twisted moral reasoning they construct to excuse their deep hostility toward you. In their mind, your downfall is not merely something they want. It is something they truly believe you deserve.